is what happens in what plants we call C3 plants, and I'll talk about those in more detail. C4 and CAN plants have bypassed this by doing other mechanisms than this really expensive salvage pathway. So most crops are what we call C3 plants. So everything that I've been talking about up till now is what happens in C3 plants. Okay. So just like we've talked about the first step of the Calvin cycle, they fix CO2. It comes in as a 3-carbon product, which is 3-phosphoglycerate. Okay. So that's why they call it C3, because they are creating a 3-carbon product from carbon fixation. Okay. So wheat, barley, potatoes, most plants that we talk about are all C3 plants. They do that pathway of photosynthesis. C4 plants have a step earlier before Rubisco that bypasses the C3 fixation step by using a 4-carbon compound. So that ends up being oxoacetate that they create through a different pathway using acetyl-CoA. So, bless you. So C4 plants, aptly named, because they bring in a 4-carbon compound instead of a 3-carbon compound. C4 plants, what we consider C4 plants, tend to grow in hotter, really sunny climates. They have really high rates of growth, high rates of photosynthesis, low water loss, and a very special leaf structure. Okay. So C4 plants are different than most crop plants we've been talking about. This includes sugarcane and corn, maize, are other examples of C4 plants. So the C4 pathway, still bringing CO2 in from the air, but converting it again into a 4-carbon molecule, oxoacetate. And they end up creating 2 special cell types, one called a mesophyll cell, one called a bundle sheath cell, that is able to separate 2 processes. So CO2 is captured into oxoacetate in the mesophyll cell of the leaf. So that process comes in here in the mesophyll cell. Oxoacetate is then passed to the bundle sheath cell, which is located here, and releases the CO2. So in essence, it's incorporated into oxoacetate, brought into this other specialized cell. CO2 is released where it then can be reacting in with Rubisco. So in this specialized bundle sheath cell, the concentration of CO2 is way greater than oxygen. So it tends to bypass that stubborn oxygen problem by having really high concentrations of CO2. So in essence, C4 cells divide the reaction of Rubisco from the portion of the cell that would have a higher oxygen concentration. So they're eliminating the amount of oxygen in the place where Rubisco lives. So they're excluding the oxygen from the house of Rubisco. So that pesky little side problem with oxygen doesn't happen as often. So when you're looking at a normal C3 plant, this is what we've been talking about so far. I'm sorry that this is kind of fuzzy, but I really like the picture. So carbon dioxide and oxygen come into the cell, okay? And Rubisco has that pesky side reaction because both oxygen and CO2 are in high concentration within the cell.